Hi, welcome to Dig Into China. I'm Dong Shang. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy what you see, don't forget to hit the like button, share with your friends, and subscribe. Your support means the world and plays a crucial role in the YouTube algorithm. Liking, sharing, and subscribing not only show your support, but also help YouTube recommend my videos to a broader audience. Thank you very much. Today, let's explore the subject of towns in China. When it comes to where people live, the Chinese population can be divided into three primary categories: urban, rural, and town populations. Currently, China's economic development is trending towards a township-centric model. I believe this township economy better reflects China's distinctive characteristics and the future directions. When most observers look at China, their focus tends to be on the country's major cities, particularly the first-tier ones like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen. However, these first-tier cities cover only a small fraction of China's vast territory and do not represent its overall trends and characteristics. Meanwhile, rural areas in China are undergoing a process of urbanization, albeit at a more modest scale, which has given rise to what are known as towns. Therefore, delving into the topic of towns in China is of great importance. Last year, an article from mainland China explored the current phenomenon observed in Chinese towns. Let's delve into how this article was framed. This article was featured on China's prominent news portal NetEase News, titled "Second-Generation Public Servants Within the System: The Internal Circulation of the Elite Circle in Towns." It primarily explores the lifestyle and the social dynamics within Chinese towns. Before diving into the details of this article, let's first clarify the concept of town, because you may not be familiar with it in the context of China. Literally, the term refers to administrative division in China. China's administrative units in descending order includes province, city, district, and a township. In essence, this is the hierarchy of administrative division in China. The administrative level of town is roughly equivalent to the district level subordinate to a city. For example, in cities like Beijing, there are districts such as Chaoyang, while in Shanghai, there are districts like Putuo. However, towns differ from districts in that they are not part of the city. Rather, they lie on the outskirts, serving as an intermediate zone between urban and rural areas. Therefore, Chinese towns can be understood as the so-called urban-rural fringe, where there are neither purely urban nor purely rural characteristics. Typically, when observed from the outside, China's attention is primarily drawn to its four first-tier cities, sometimes adding the 27 provincial capitals. However, in reality, these regions constitute only a tiny fraction of mainland China's vast territory. Beyond these metropolitan areas, China boasts 1,472 towns and 394 town-level cities. This implies that the count of major cities doesn't even come close to matching the abundance of towns. Moreover, in terms of geographical coverage, towns far outweigh cities. From a structural standpoint, China can be likened to a nation encircled by towns, with cities merely standing as isolated islands amidst the sea of towns. Consequently, it is not the cities, but rather the towns that truly encapsulate the essence of China. Understanding towns is essentially understanding China. Returning to the article, it highlights a notable trend where in recent years, a significant number of young individuals have been opting to pursue careers in civil service, particularly in their hometowns. The piece delves into several instances of young individuals choosing to return to their hometowns to pursue civil service roles. Typically, these individuals have completed their university education in major cities, but ultimately decide to return to their hometowns due to familial ties. Often, their parents are also civil servants in these towns. Leveraging their parents' connections, they find a smoother career path in the local civil service arena. Upon beginning their careers, these individuals typically undergo training at the village level of government. After several years, leveraging their parents' connections, they often secure positions at the town government level. This role represents the pinnacle of power for them, and they tend to remain content without seeking advancement to higher levels of government. Instead, they solidify their positions within the town government. Along the way, they swiftly engage in courtship, marriage, and starting families. Their spouses typically hail from civil servant families as well. As their children mature, they cultivate deep interpersonal relationships within both the township and the county, which can aid their offspring in following a similar path and becoming part of hereditary lineage of town civil servant families. The above summary encapsulates what the article refers to as the internal circulation within towns, which indeed reflects certain aspects of reality in China. Such online articles also resonate with and evoke empathy from Chinese netizens. In the comments section of this article, one netizen remarked that the hardest places to get by are these small, underdeveloped towns because everything relies on connections. The town is where the privileged few thrive the most, as they can live comfortably even on transfer payments. The term transfer payments mentioned here refers to the fiscal subsidies provided by the Chinese government to impoverished regions. In theory, the more impoverished a town, the larger the amount of transfer payments it receives. This form of governance heavily rely on external support because these backward regions lack the ability to generate resources internally. Applying this model to the context of towns, it means that towns themselves lack self-sufficiency and they require subsidies from larger cities. However, these subsidies are not directly distributed to residents. Instead, they are allocated to the town government, which then manages their distribution. This implies that the town government holds the authority to distribute the local subsidies. Below the town level, such as in rural areas and villages, their destiny is largely determined by the town government. The civil servants in towns can be likened to the grassroots emperors or tyrants of China. Hence, town officials wield significant power locally, providing strong motivation for young people to return to towns to pursue careers in civil service. It's apparent that the essence of town economics lies in its distribution capability rather than its capacity to generate wealth. The economic framework of a town heavily relies on this aspect of distribution. However, a crucial concern arises from this perspective as we understand the Chinese economy is currently witnessing a significant downturn and a disconnection from the global economy. In such a scenario, China's overall ability to create wealth is on the decline. Without the ability to generate wealth, if China continues to rely solely on its distribution capability, it risks resembling a vast town. Therefore, the field of town economics must extend beyond the confines of individual towns to accurately depict the overall economic landscape of China. In an economic model primarily centered around the resource distribution like that of towns, interpersonal relationships hold significant importance. This is because interpersonal connections are closely intertwined with power dynamics. Therefore, our next focus will be on examining the crucial role played by relationship dynamics in the town economy. We are all aware that China places significant emphasis on interpersonal relationships, especially in small communities like towns, where connections are crucial for progress. The article on second-generation civil servants within the system also acknowledges this phenomenon. It specifically highlights that the parents of town civil servants are often civil servants themselves, fostering close connections within this circle. Various relationships such as familial, marital, comradeship, and friendship are deeply valued within this network. The article suggests that this web of relationships effectively monopolizes local resources and hinders the upward mobility opportunities for individuals at the grassroots level. The article goes as far as to cite Dr. Feng Junqi's doctoral thesis, Town Caterers, from Peking University to support this argument. However, I believe the author may not have fully grasped the essence of interpersonal relationships. Their understanding of the Dr. Feng Junqi's thesis seems superficial, lacking a comprehensive grasp. Consequently, they may have misconstrued the concept of relationships. In reality, interpersonal relationships are not fixed. They are dynamic and adaptable. The notion of relationships as understood by the Chinese resembles a constantly shifting web characterized by its fluidity and variability. This aspect is pivotal and warrants deeper exploration. Dr. Feng Junqi, a sociology PhD from Peking University, once served in the subordinate town government of Beishan City in Henan Province, China. During his tenure, he conducted numerous interviews with local officials, which formed the basis of this doctoral thesis titled Town Caterers. This thesis includes a table that summarizes the background of the town's leadership cadre, revealing that the fathers of these town leaders were mostly local officials themselves. This indicates an objective trend of bureaucratic familiarization within the town system. However, it's important to note that not all officials necessarily come from families of officials. Some may have parents with lower social status. Moreover, within these officials' ranks, relationships are not always harmonious. Struggles and conflicts exist among them, including possibilities of mutual accusations, reporting, and various methods used to undermine opponents and even terminate their careers. One section of the thesis addressed the discipline of caterers and their career prospects, shedding light on the internal power struggles among officials in the town and their tendencies to report and undermine one another. Over a span of 15 years analyzed by the author, it was found that in this small town, over 60% of disciplined caterers received warnings or severe warnings, with 23% even facing direct expulsion from the party, effectively terminating their careers. Consequently, these internal conflicts can significantly impact the town's political landscape, potentially resulting in the removal of senior officials and the elevation of new ones. Thus, the interpersonal and the political dynamics in the town are not fixed, but rather characterized by alliances, conflicts, and shifts in positions, demonstrating a dynamic relationship. Furthermore, whether in the NetEase article or Dr. Feng Junqi's doctoral thesis, it is noted that even experienced civil servants must rely on various connections to groom their children for civil service roles. This involves fostering relationships with former leaders and caterers, giving gifts, participating in social activities, and more. Failing to manage these relationships effectively can hinder the career paths of their children, despite their parents' official status. Similarly, individuals from ordinary backgrounds who seek advancement through civil service exams also need to cultivate connections to secure a path upward. In essence, within the established system, anyone with ambitions must diligently cultivate relationships. In towns, relationships reign supreme as the cornerstone of productivity. Within the realm of town economics, relationships stand as a pivotal resource. At its core, the town-level government holds sway over significant political and economic authority. To navigate the bureaucratic landscape and maintain their standing within it, town civil servants must continuously cultivate connections. Likewise, ordinary residents seek proximity to these officials and personnel from public institutions to elevate their social standing and enhance local livelihoods, necessitating the ongoing cultivation of relationships. Thus, whether official or civilian, it's imperative to foster connections becomes a fundamental catalyst propelling local economic growth. Within the framework of town economics, relationships function as a form of currency, often even more valuable than actual money. Take, for example, the practice of treating others to meals, an essential component of relationship building. This extends to hosting gatherings at the restaurants, sharing drinks, or even engaging in activities like hiring escorts, all of which are impossible to replicate in state-run cafeterias. As a result of this demand for relationship-building activities, there emerges a need for more sophisticated dining services similar to those found in private establishments. Furthermore, beyond the dining experiences, the exchange of gifts and the participation in entertainment activities are also integral to cultivating relationships. These activities require the presence of market-driven shops and entertainment venues such as KTVs, bathhouses, and similar establishments. Therefore, these industries mentioned above have emerged due to the demand for cultivating relationships. In the realm of town economics, the fundamental premise is that the town's economy lacks internal vitality and it relies on external subsidies to sustain itself. Consequently, all aspects of a town revolve around power. Power in this context is centered on distribution rather than production. Thus, to enter the distribution system, one must leverage interpersonal relationships. In reality, China's economic development has largely followed a derivative model over the years. For instance, during the boom of the real estate era, the property sector served as the core industry, giving rise to a myriad of related sectors including materials, construction, interior design, furniture, and more. Additionally, there were ancillary services such as dining establishments that catered to the needs of the real estate industry. This interconnected network allowed the real estate sector to drive growth across various upstream and downstream industries, thereby fueling the economy. However, in the absence of a thriving real estate sector, the gap left behind would be filled by relationships. Consequently, China would transform into a derivative economy centered around interpersonal connections. Interpersonal relationships can indeed play a certain central role and have the capacity to stimulate some upstream and downstream industries. However, their impact on economic growth is evidently not as potent as that of the real estate sector. This level of stimulation is unlikely to alter the overarching downward trend in the Chinese economy. Over the past few decades, we've observed the core industries of the Chinese economy continuously deteriorating, shifting from the initial focus on export assembly industries to the subsequent dominance of the real estate sector. This represents a trend of regression and hollowing out. Now, as the economy gradually transitions from the real estate sector to a relationship-centered town economy, we are witnessing further regression and hollowing out. The path of continuous regression in this core aspect is quite evident. As for whether there will be further regression in the future, that remains a question to be addressed when the appropriate opportunity arises. In the past, a common saying among Chinese was that technology is the primary productive force. However, this statement needs updating. It's evident that technology is no longer the foremost productive force. Moreover, neither trade nor real estate holds this position anymore. In fact, even productivity itself has ceased to be the primary productive force. In today's China, what stands as the primary driver of productivity? It's arguable that the relationships and the power hold this distinction. The evolving nature of China's primary productive force over time is directly tied to the ongoing degradation of its economic core. China appears to have fully embraced the era of town economy. Therefore, the most promising investment in China's future isn't in real estate or stocks, but in relationships. This is because the entire town economy is built upon the foundation of relationships, and investing in relationships is akin to investing in the future. In the coming years, Chinese individuals will likely invest significant time and effort in fostering relationships. Although this economic structure may seem illogical and frustrating, it's not the worst scenario. Despite relying on power relationships, there still exists a market under the town economy model. However, there may come a day when this model collapses, and there will be the most unfortunate time. At that point, even if one desires to cultivate the relationships, there may be none left to foster. Thank you for watching. Please like, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button right here. I'll see you again shortly. Until then, be well.